So what's the warthog secret? Well, it's a way more complex and even controversial story than you might think. And it all kicks off not with a roar, but with a kneel. Have you ever seen a warthog grazing? If you have, you've probably noticed this weird thing they do. They get down on their padded little wrists to eat. It seriously looks like they're praying or something. So why? I mean, what on earth could this one simple behavior tell us about millions of years of evolution? Okay, so the answer is a classic evolutionary trade-off. See, warthogs are the only pigs that are built for life out in the open savannas. So their long, slender legs, they're amazing for speed. I mean, you gotta be fast to get away from a cheetah, right? But those same long legs make it super awkward to reach the grass they eat way down on the ground. The solution? Just kneel down. Simple. Their cousins who live in the forest, they've got shorter legs, so they don't have this problem at all. So this really unique adaptation, this kneeling, it's our first big clue. It points to a life lived out in the open, and that one choice, believe it or not, has shaped every single part of the warthog, right down to its skeleton. And this slide, this is awesome. It shows us exactly how scientists can basically read an animal's whole lifestyle just by looking at its bones. It's a field called ecomorphology. So you've got an open country pig, like our warthog, long limbs, stable joints, all optimized for running straight ahead. Then you have a closed habitat pig, like a forest hog, shorter, chunkier bones, and really mobile joints for dodging trees and stuff. It's a classic case of flee versus hide. Now, paleontologists use these exact same clues in the bones to piece together the stories of animals that went extinct millions of years ago. But when they tried to do this for the warthog's family tree, the story just didn't make any sense. In fact, they hit a massive, massive roadblock. For decades, you had two different fields of science telling two completely different stories about the warthog. The story the bones in the ground were telling just did not match the story that the DNA was telling. It was a huge controversy. And here is that conflict, laid out plain and simple. Early genetic studies pointed to the two warthog species splitting somewhere between 4 and 8 million years ago. But the fossil record was crystal clear. The first actual warthog bones, they don't show up until around 2 million years ago. That's a gap of up to 6 million years where the warthogs just disappear from the story. So where were they? Look, this wasn't just some small academic disagreement. This was a major scientific puzzle. The timeline was so completely out of whack that some people even started to suggest that warthogs might not have evolved in Africa at all. To solve this thing, scientists really needed a brand new kind of clue. And they found it. The solution, the key to the whole mystery, was hidden in the full genetic code. The breakthrough came from what's called whole genome sequencing. This let researchers read the entire genetic storybook of the warthog for the very first time, not just, a few isolated sentences here and there.
All right, so let's meet our main characters in this drama. On one side, you've got the common warthog. You can find them all over sub-Saharan Africa. And on the other, the desert warthog, a real specialist that's adapted to the super dry Horn of Africa. For years, how these two were related was a complete and total mystery.
So what did the full genetic storybook say? Well, it turns out those early genetic studies were wrong. Flat out wrong. The two species didn't split 8 million years ago. Nope. The split happened much, much more recently, somewhere between 400,000 and 1.7 million years ago. And just like that, boom, the genetics and the fossils finally lined up. Perfectly. Okay, so looking at this map, we can actually trace this incredible journey. The new data shows the common warthog first popped up over here in West Africa. Then, if you follow the arrows, you can see it expanded eastward, going all the way around the Central African rainforest before pushing south. And it's right here in East Africa where things get really interesting, because that's where it ran into its long-lost cousin, the desert warthog.
So, mystery solved, right? The timelines match up, the migration path makes perfect sense, case closed. Well, not quite, because that full genetic code, it was holding on to one more, even bigger surprise.
When these two long-separated species met up again in East Africa, they didn't just fight for space or food. They interbred. As the slide says, they exchanged secrets. This amazing phenomenon has a scientific name. It's called adaptive integration. But I love the way the researchers put it. Think of it like a genetic heist. The common warthog was expanding into a brand new land, and it needed some new tools to survive. And who had them? The locally adapted desert warthog. So, through interbreeding, it basically borrowed them. So what exactly got stolen in this heist? Basically, an entire immune system upgrade. By borrowing these specific genes from their cousins, they got this huge survival advantage. For example, they swiped these things called MHC genes, which are kind of like the immune system's most wanted posters for spotting diseases. And they also grabbed MX genes, which act like these elite antiviral security forces. This gave the common warthog this absolutely crucial advantage that pretty much fueled the rest of its expansion across the entire continent. And this isn't just a fun theory. This chart right here, this is the proof. It's brilliant. Scientists can literally see the genomic fingerprints of this ancient heist. Do you see those peaks on the chart? Those are chunks of desert warthog DNA that are still present in the common warthog genome today. That's the literal written-in-code evidence of that ancient exchange. So, there you have it. A kneeling pig led us to a detective story written in bones, which was finally solved by a huge genetic plot twist, an ancient and incredibly important collaboration. And here's the big takeaway from all of this. A simple question, why does a warthog kneel, can send us spiraling down this incredible rabbit hole into a story that spans a continent, covering migration, conflict, and ultimately collaboration. It just goes to show how behavior, bones, and genes are all these interconnected threads in one single epic story. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? Every animal, every plant out there has a story just as complex and surprising as the warthogs. So what other incredible evolutionary secrets are out there, just waiting for us to find them, hiding in plain sight?